Hey everyone. As a lot of people may know, I'm a big fan of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and as you also might know, there's a big crossover among fans of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and Thundercats. When I was a kid, I remember, let's see, I got a toy of Skeletor and He-Man from my grandfather. He got them from someone at work. They were going through their kids' toys, and they gave him those to give to me, and I loved these characters, but I had no idea who they were. I also had, let's see, was it Panther? I had a toy of, I think. I don't quite remember now. But eventually I found out who these characters were and what they were from. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And I rented the tape from the old video store and I fell in love with the show. Then the 2002 show came along and I got a bunch of those toys. Loved that show. And yeah, at some point I had seen some of Thundercats, but I don't remember quite where. Like with He-Man, my earliest memories are pretty clear. Like I remember getting that He-Man and that Skeletor, and I remember like seeing that tape. I believe it was Dragon's Gift and Game Master were on the tape that I saw at the video store. But for Thundercats, it's a little more fuzzy in my mind. I can't remember exactly where I first heard of Thundercats or saw them. It's a good bet, though, that it was in Toy Fair magazine, which was this really funny magazine that actually led to the creation of Robot Chicken. Yeah, really, isn't that cool? So, I know they've done a bunch of, like, comics and jokes about Thundercats, so maybe it was there that I first heard of them, but yeah, I never, like, got to actually sit down and watch any of it until quite a few years later. I found some tapes of the show, and, like, yeah, I fell in love with it. I mean, it had a similar vibe and tone to He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, but it was a completely different world, but kind of similar in that it kind of mixes fantasy and sci-fi. It's futuristic, but also it like feels ancient. It was a really cool tone that they don't do a whole lot in shows, and it's unfortunate because it's a really cool way to do things. You know, that new Nimona movie did that really well. I love that. So, to the main thing to talk about, Thundercats stuff. So let's see, the first Thundercats comic I found, I don't actually remember what the first Thundercats comic I had was, but I do have the very first issue of the Star Comics Thundercats comic. Star was part of Marvel. It was this attempt at a like kids line of comics, and there was some really cool stuff in the Star Comics line. There was Planet Terry, who I think has shown up in normal Marvel stuff now. They had Spider Ham, Peter Porker, and let's see, they had Heathcliff, and they had Thundercats, at least for a while. Star Comics eventually kind of came to an end, but the Thundercats comics were so popular that they continued on into the Marvel era. So here we got another Star Comics Thundercats comic. And then here's another one. Sword of Omens versus Excalibur. There is actually a Marvel comic called Excalibur. Is this a team up with Excalibur? Or is it just like generic, they're fighting King Arthur or something? And so then here's the first one that's from Marvel, not Star. And this next one is a very unusual Thundercats comic. So here it is. Thundercats number 23 from Marvel. Silverhawks commercial on the back. But the inside is Jughead Volume 2, Number 5. Yeah, it's an Archie comic. Or, well, Jughead. I guess I should have included this in my Archie Comics Collection video. I completely forgot I had this bizarre thing. And this isn't a situation where, like, the cover fell off one comic and they, like, put it on another. Like, it was printed this way. Like, it's all stapled together in the right spots. I don't know what happened here. What's the story with this? Why is there a Jughead comic inside of a Thundercats comic? That is so bizarre to me. All I can guess is Marvel and Archie were, like, they had comics being printed at one of the same factories or something, and there was a mix-up. I couldn't find any information on this situation if there was any other comics like this. And these next ones are unusual. These are from the UK, and they're really big sized compared to the American comics. Like, here's an American comic, and look how much... Yeah, look how much more space there is. This is even bigger than most magazines. This is like an issue of Rolling Stones sized. But here's the weird thing with these. They're extremely flimsy. Yeah, that is something. I think these are just straight reprints of the American Marvel Thundercats comics, since there's a lot of empty space along the edges of these. So it really looks like they just, yeah, reprinted the American comics. Now, the really weird thing with these UK comics is that in the back, they would have a bonus comic. But it wasn't of Thundercats, or really anything that would appeal to, I think, the Thundercats demographic. They print Power Pack comics. I don't know. To me, if I was a kid super into Thundercats, I wouldn't be happy with Power Pack. So yeah, there's this one, number 4. On the back is number 6, and then there's a little thingy here. Free Ricicles Space Poster. So let's take a look at the space poster. Yay, Thundercats. Like, were kids really excited to get a Thundercats comic and then have a cereal mascot poster? Like, I don't know, maybe. I don't, maybe this guy, Captain Rick? That's what his little helmet says. Maybe he was a super popular, mascot in the UK. I don't know. Like, maybe kids were super excited to see Captain Rick on a poster in a Thundercats comic. And here's the final UK issue I have, number 8. The covers were consistently pretty cool. I don't know if they were, like, copied from the Marvel Comics covers or not. And then finally, here's the Thundercats source book, which was kind of like a encyclopedia to the characters. Kind of cool. When, like, if I remember going through this when I was watching the show when I had the big box set DVDs. And it was kind of neat to read up on these characters I was seeing. And so next up, the UK annuals. Yeah, I have a lot of Thundercats UK stuff. So here's the first Thundercats annual, which was a co-production of Marvel and Grand Dreams. Grand Dreams did some really cool Power Ranger annuals, as well as the Masked Rider annual and the Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad annual. And in the front we have a map of Third Earth. Isn't that cool? I love when they have, like, fantasy world maps. That is really cool. Oh, and there's an address. This belonged to Martin? Or Marie M. Markham? 720 13 350 12 Ravine Hill, Flay. Okay, wherever that is. And so this reprints some of the Marvel comics. This one has the very first Marvel comic reprinted. Then there's some little bios on different characters with these, like, animation models straight out of the show. Really cool. Oh, and there's another comic printed in here. Doesn't say the number, but it does give the credits, and they are the same as the other, like, Marvel and Star Comics credits. So yeah, a bunch of comic reprints and another map. Neat. And then here's the second annual, which is about the same thing. This one doesn't say Grand Dreams on the spine, it just says Marvel. Oh, and this is cool. Big Mum-Ra versus Lion-O there. Let's see. Published by Marvel Comics. So yeah, I guess Grand Dreams didn't publish the second one. it looks about the same. We got, like, comic reprints, which is really cool because it's hard to find the American comics now. And then we also have some text stories with some cool illustrations. Okay, Green Mumra. That's unusual. Maybe there's a story reason for why he's green. That is a bit of a weird thing with some of these, the Thundercats comics, is the colors are really weird, and they don't fix them in these UK annual reprints. And so here's the next UK annual of Thundercats. And still just Marvel, no Grand Dreams. And it's more the same. We got comic reprints, and let's see, some text stories. And so yeah, that's it for that one. Moving on to the next one. And this one has Bengali on the cover, so I guess those characters were introduced at this point. Oh, and still just Marvel, no Grand Dreams. And again, it's the same thing. We got some comic reprints, text stories, bios on the characters and stuff. And then here's the next one. We got Palmyra on the cover there. That's neat. Wow, look at that guy. Was he in the show? I don't think that guy is from... Maybe he is. There was a lot of episodes that... I haven't watched Thundercats in quite a while. I was thinking of maybe doing a rewatch series on that sometime soon. Oh, and that's it for the UK annuals. I think that was the last one. I don't think there were any more. And so here's a Thundercats storybook, Lion-O Walks the Plank, by Regina King, illustrated by Monez. I think that's how that's pronounced. I don't know. Anyway, Monez, or whoever that is, did a really good job with the illustrations here. It is really cool looking. I love the artwork in here. And here's another Thundercats book, Attack of the Mutants. There's some dust on top of it there. By Anne Hodgman, illustrated by Monez. And we got this really awesome cover. This is what drew me to this. That is freaking amazing. Unfortunately, this book's not in the best of shape. It's falling apart here. Got a spread of the characters there. And we got that amazing artwork. Okay. Trying to turn the page to show off more of the artwork. Yeah. The spine of this is in really bad shape. It's barely holding together. It's too bad a lot of these old books don't get reprinted. It'd be so nice to have reprinted versions of these. So, like, if you were a big fan of Thundercats or whatever as a kid, and you wanted to read these books to your kids, or give these books to your kids, yeah, I wouldn't really feel safe giving my kid this thing, because it's in such bad shape. It would definitely not survive. Okay, so that's it for books and storybooks. So now on to the other comics that I want to talk about. The Wildstorm Thundercats comics. Here we got the first paperback, Reclaiming Thundera. There's some really cool artwork in here, and some really weird artwork. The weird thing with these Wildstorm Thundercats comics is that the art style is not consistent at all. The art style will drastically change from issue to issue, regardless of the tone or anything. Like, there'll be a kind of cartoon accurate style one issue, and then it'll go like super cartoony the next, and then it'll go like really dark and moody, and it's just really weird and all over the place in terms of the artwork. But talking about the story's pretty basic. It's Lion-O and his friends fighting against Mum-Ra. It feels like, yeah, I imagine that when this came out, it was probably exactly like when you were watching the show. It's like, wow, my favorite show came back. But then the ending is a little weird because it leads into Thundercats The Return, which isn't bad, but I don't think it's what people wanted from a Thundercats comic, or maybe it is, I don't know. It takes a very dark turn with this particular series, The Return, each of these graphic novels collects 4, 5, 6 individual issues from a separate miniseries. Now, at the end of the last one, Lion-O goes into the Book of Omens to train to become a leader, and it's supposed to be like 10 years will pass while 1 day passes in the real world. But Mum-Ra cast an evil spell on the book or something, so now 10 years passed in the book and in the real world. He comes out of the book, and Snarf informs Lion-O that everything's gone to hell. Quite literally. Different characters are dead, or they're slaves. They blame Lion-O for what happened, even though, like, how is he supposed to know what was going on? Wily Kit and Wily Cat are slaves to Mum-Ra, and it gets really uncomfortable and creepy with them. But in the end, I don't hate this story. I just, I really don't think this is what Thundercats fans wanted, or maybe it was. I don't know what exactly the response to this was. I kind of feel like maybe this was what He-Man Revelation was trying to do, but they didn't really have the guts to go far enough with it. Like, this definitely goes about as far as it could go. Anyway, I'm guessing maybe the feedback from that comic was that it was way too dark, because then they went in a far lighter direction with the next comic, Dogs of War, which is really weird because it continues off of that really dark and edgy Ow the Edge comic of Thundercats, but it also goes in a very silly direction with silly characters. The titular Dogs of War, there's a scene, there's the leader of the Doberman people or whatever. There's a funny bit where, I mean, it's a silly bit, where the Thundercats are locked up in prisons, and then suddenly they escape, and he goes, "Who let the cats out? Who let the cats out?" Which, going from Wily Kit and Wily Cat were slaves to Mum-Ra to a "Who let the dogs out" joke is kind of jarring. And I'm guessing probably Wildstorm thought so too, because the next series, Hammerhand's Revenge, pretty much ignored all that and went back to the beginning. And so yeah, here's kind of the rebooted, I guess, comic. And I don't have the paperback because it's really rare, so I have the individual issues. So yeah, and again, like the other ones, the art style drastically changes each issue. It's really weird, but on the plus side with this, it feels like just a typical Thundercats adventure. They team up with some old faces, they fight some old villains, and there's some new stuff that happens, and it's fine, it's acceptable. And then the next and last, kind of, is Enemy's Pride, which I don't remember much about, but I think it's, again, kind of just a back-to-basics type of thing with, yeah, we don't have, like, any dark stories, no one's a slave to anyone, there's no, like, death of major characters, or maybe there is, because I don't remember. Okay, I kind of remember this. Wily Kit and Wily Cat dress up as, like, some bad guys and infiltrate the bad guy's base at one point. I kind of remember that. I think that's what's going on here. Oh, well, anyway. So yeah, there's that. And then there is one more Thundercats comic I want to talk about before the last one. Thundercats, or Battle of the Planets Thundercats, and Thundercats Battle of the Planets. Yeah, it's a weird team-up between Battle of the Planets and Thundercats. So yeah, that exists. I did a video about one of these. Now, the weird thing with these is one of them has a heavier focus on the Thundercats characters, and the other one has a heavier focus on the Battle of the Planets characters. But the thing that makes this really weird is that these are obviously meant to be like companion pieces to each other, but the stories don't have anything to do with each other. Both of them are completely separate. One of them, the Thundercats and the Battle of the Planets characters, they meet each other for the first time, they ally against the bad guys, then one of them leaves. And then the other one is pretty much the same story. They don't know each other at the beginning. So yeah, this was really weird. And then the last comic to talk about is He-Man Thundercats, which has some really incredible artwork, and it's all consistent, so that's really nice. The story is meh. At sometimes it like teeters on the edginess territory, but I think in the end it does all come together, and there's like, it doesn't go as dark as those early Wildstorm comics, and it's definitely no He-Man Revelation. Although He-Man does get killed in this, and it's handled far better than in that show. So, anyway, there's some cute moments in here, and there's some cool battles, some really neat designs. Skeletor fuses with Mum-Ra and becomes Mum-Ator. That's a terrible name, but, it was fun. I remember reading this as it was coming out, and I had fun with it. And so, finally, here's the DVDs. Here's Thundercats, the complete series, the original series, in this nifty little box set, which is a really big space saver on my cartoon DVD shelf over there. And so, on the inside, this is one of those weird cases where the middle thing isn't actually connected to the box. Why is this such a common thing now? This, like, just came out of nowhere, and now everybody uses it, even though we had, like, big DVD cases that could hold multiple discs before, but whatever. Anyway, there's all the discs. It's the whole series. That's awesome. The discs are color-coded, so you know which seasons are which in there, and we got this little booklet with an episode list. And one of the really nice things about this new DVD set is, even though the DVDs, the episode lists are slightly different than the original DVDs, like there's more episodes on each disc so that they can have fewer discs overall, they do keep the bonus features that were on those original box sets, so that's really cool. Especially, let's see, which one is it? The Rembrandt's music video, Music of Thundera, Bernie Hoffer Live. I think that's the one where the composer of the theme song talks about coming up with the theme song and he plays it on a little keyboard. That was frickin' amazing. I frickin' love that bonus feature. I hope it's on there. I've never actually watched the bonus features on this. In fact, of this whole box set, I've only watched like a few episodes here and there just to make sure it worked before I sold my old DVDs. So there's that, and then here's the 2011 reboot series, Thundercats. Creative title. So yeah, here's Season 1, Book 1. Why is it called Book 1? Well, because it was taking influence from Avatar: The Last Airbender, I think. So yeah, there's the DVDs. 2 per set. I love the artwork on the cover of these. It's really cool. And there's the back. Again, really cool artwork. I remember when I found this, it was like dirt cheap at a Dollar General. Awesome. Don't see that anymore at Dollar General. I'm assuming if any do pop up, they're sold immediately. And here we got Season 1 book. Why do they bother calling it Season 1? It's not like there was ever another season, unfortunately. So yeah, this was a really cool cartoon. I remember when it came out, I was a little skeptical of it, because I was like, Lion-O, like, oh, and there's a commercial for the DS game. Oh, and there's a digital code for this. Anybody want that? Maybe it's still good, I don't know. Flickster. Walmart Entertainment. Huh, weird. So yeah, there's the final volume of the Thundercats reboot series. There's also a Blu-ray set of all 3 of these volumes together, but I don't have that. Anyway, I really liked the reboot series. It was really fun. It was a different take at times, but other times it felt like, yeah, this is just a modern take on Thundercats. I really wish they could have had more seasons and like at least completed their story that they were trying to do, because there was a story building and like the characters going through things, and unfortunately it all just falls apart because the show got canceled due to slimy behind the scenes reasons. That's too bad. So yeah, there's all the Thundercats stuff I have, and I'm not really planning on getting a whole lot more. Like, if I find any more of the comics, I'll definitely pick those up if I don't have them. But yeah, Thundercats seems to be a dead franchise at the moment, or at least in hibernation. I don't see much Thundercats stuff coming out. There's like special toys that come out every now and then, but I don't see there being a new show of it. Also, like new comics, like maybe there'll be a new Thundercats comic coming soon sometime. I hope. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for this one, I guess. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.